Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin. Today I wanted to bring you guys a guide on the most important skills that you need to level up early to mid game in New World, and these are going to be the most important skills that you can focus on early game even if you're not a crafter. So obviously a lot of you guys that are into your crafting, gathering, refining will have your own opinion on what your favorites are and what you believe to be the best, but objectively I'm going to go over which ones give you the most benefit, particularly for those people that are not really interested in crafting but will do it to get the progression that they need in the game. And this is kind of going to focus on things that you really need to be getting done early on, particularly if you're an endgame PvP or PvE player, and that is really going to make sense to you as we go through this video. So we're going to jump straight into it here, and the first one is going to be stone cutting. Now for some people this will be fairly obvious, but you do need to be able to level this one up, as it is the way that you craft your expedition keys. Now that means that to get access to those later on dungeons, or indeed those early game expeditions, you do need to craft the key. If you run out of them or you don't have any more in the party or whatever, you'll need to craft them in order to get them. Now some of them early on start off pretty easy. It's just a few of the silver that you get from the corrupted portals, fairly standard to get, but as you get further into the game, some of these keys become harder to craft and of course require a higher stone cutting level in order to be able to craft these. So it's going to be really important to focus on leveling up your stone crafting early on. As well as this, you also get gems through the stone cutting menu, and you're able to cut these into actual usable gems, which you can then put straight into sockets on your armor. So even if you're not doing jewelry crafting, it is still very good for that reason. But then if you do plan to go on and do jewelry crafting as well, it's a really good skill to level up. But mainly for those expedition keys particularly, it's worth mentioning for those end game level 60 dungeons, some of those keys have a 24-hour or 1-day cooldown on the craft, meaning that you can only get one per crafter per 24 hours, which is pretty slow once you actually get up there, because you're probably going to want to do a couple runs a day when you've got the time. So getting those early doors and being able to stockpile a few of these, obviously providing that you have the materials and the required stone cutting table level, because the station itself has to be a higher tier to actually craft these. But once you've got both those requirements fulfilled and your own level is up there, you can pretty much spam craft these as soon as possible, because you're definitely going to use them, or your company will use them on that mid to late game stages, and you having a few of these stockpiled is going to be super useful, particularly if you're a PvE player yourself. Now leading on from that one is actually going to be Arcana. Now this is again is really useful, obviously for potions, but on top of that you get what are called wisps, which are a collection of motes crafted together at a higher level of Arcana, and these go into crafting those higher tier gems. And obviously then wisps have their upgrades as well, and each of these will be used to craft the higher tiers of gems. As you go up, tier 3, 4 and 5 gems will require these upgraded wisp versions, which you can get through the Arcana skill in order to cut them. Now that's going to be again really useful for if you just wanted to put those gems onto your gear. That's going to be perfect, because you just need to cut the gem and then put it into a slot, so that's going to work really well. But again, like I mentioned before, if you're going for jewelry crafting, it's going to go hand in hand exceptionally well with that one, because it's going to allow you to craft those higher tier ones, which are going to net you a big profit early doors. Even at late game, jewelry is going to be very valuable, but also it's going to mean that you can use it yourself to get a huge stat boost that most other players won't have already. We're then also going to talk about cooking, which obviously for the regen foods, the light meals, etc. when you get to tier 3 and onwards are really good regen foods, even up to level 40 and 50, and then moving on to those tier 4 and 5, which will be used throughout the game once people hit 50 to 60 and 60 plus, is going to be the most useful things you can get. So getting those tier 4 and 5 foods unlocked is always going to be a really good idea, but there's a reason you should prioritize it as well if you are into crafting. Maybe if you're one of the players that just wants to focus on PvP and PvE content, then this probably isn't as a high priority one, as you can buy a lot of this stuff from the market. But if you are a player that enjoys a bit of crafting, this is a really good one, as the stat gain foods that you can get once you get to around level 50 or level 100 respectively, you can get some really good stat boost foods unlocked between these 50 levels, and this will give you things like plus 10 strength, plus 10 constitution, and these are going to be really helpful for expeditions, for PvPs, particularly for wars, although you will need a few, because every time you die it does reset your food buffs. But if you get maybe 10 or 15 of these per player when you go into a war, it's going to give you a huge advantage, especially early on when people are not max level and you've got some of those attribute points floating around in all sorts of different things. Having your tanks with plus 10 constitution from the food, or your mages with plus 10 intelligence, is going to be very vital and will help you win extra wars. So it's a really good one to have at least a few people in your company focus on early doors. Now, like I've mentioned a few times, they're linking in nicely with this is actually jewel crafting. It's great for all content throughout the game, game, PvP, PvE, crafting, whatever you want to do, it's going to be worth your time because obviously the stat boosts it gives are really, really good and they're unique slots. So earrings, rings and necklaces, you can't equip anything else. You rarely get drops of them throughout the game. There is a few side quests and one, I think, main story quest that gives you some of these drops, which is quite nice because you'll get some as you're going through the game. But generally it's going to be the better ones, especially with the nicer gems in, and some of the good slotted perks are going to be through crafting. Now a lot of these are going to take quite a while to get into, so if you can start off your jewelry crafting early on and get some, even just some plus 10 plus 15 stat boost to your team early on, is going to be really, really useful. So if you've got a company, they're going to be sought after, and if you are not doing it for a company, if you're doing it for yourself, they're going to sell pretty well on the auction house or the marketplace because a lot of people are going to want those early stat boosts. And for anyone who knows how to min-max, getting a necklace with plus 12 strength right off the bat at level 20 is going to be super, super useful. So definitely if you start crafting these, you're going to make a ton of cash as well, which is really nice. Now again, kind of going in with this one and the stone cutting one, you're going to actually want to level up your mining. Again, even for people who are not really into crafting, gathering, that sort of thing, mining is going to be an essential one because every time you mine something like iron ore, silver or any precious metal, you have a chance at getting a gem drop from it, which obviously you can use in stone cutting and jewelry crafting or just stone cutting and then putting into a piece of gear. As well as this, the materials sell for a lot, so if you're someone who just wants to craft them, maybe even refine them with the smelting and then go ahead and sell them, it's up to you. It does do really, really good for you. And obviously, they give you a decent amount of XP from the town quest boards. That's why I'm saying, even if you're not a gatherer or crafter type player, if you're just wanting to level up and that sort of thing, these quests that ask for iron ore or star metal or whatever once you level it up, give you a ton of XP from the town board quest. So it's definitely worth gathering and leveling these ones up so that you can get to those higher tier ones. Because when you do get to that tier 4 star metal, that is when you're going to see a huge XP buff. And that goes hand in hand with smelting, the same thing here. A lot of these town board quests, once you get to the appropriate level, which is 100 plus in smelting, you'll start to see them saying, bring me 90 star metal ingots, which seems like quite a lot, but in exchange for around 10,000 XP per time, it's pretty good if you've managed to mine up quite a lot of this as you're going around the world anyway. It's not really going out your way to buy it and then having to buy it smelted already. If you can already be self-sufficient with picking this up, smelting it and having it just stockpiled in your inventory, so when these quests pop up, you can go ahead and just throw it in, it's going to be a lot of free XP and it's going to level you up very, very quickly. So it's something to really keep an eye on if you are someone that does a lot of exploring and questing. That's going to be really, really useful. Also, if you have leveled up your engineering by the time you get these ones to level 100 plus, so you can actually be self-sufficient in gathering, smelting, so refining your star metal, and then actually when you get to level 100 engineering, you can craft those tier 4 tools, which if you are ahead of the curve with this, you're one of the first few people to be able to do this. First of all, your gathering speeds are going to be dramatically improved. They go up a huge percent, about 150% bonus from the steel tools. You're also going to be able to give them to your company and friends, which is going to be amazing because you guys are all going to get ahead a lot faster with that respect. And then you can obviously sell these, and on my server in closed beta, these were going for around 7,000 to 8,000 gold per tool. So yeah, quite a lot of gold to be made in those, particularly if you get them early doors. So it's certainly something I would be working on, and my plan is to go in for mining, smelting and engineering off the bat, just to be able to get into some of those money plays, as well as maybe a little bit of armor crafting to get those bags in as well. All of that stuff is going to sell really, really well, so it's a really good idea. Even if you're not someone who likes crafting and gathering and smelting and all that kind of thing, it might be worth putting a little bit of time into just early on so you can get early cash really good going on. Now on top of this, with engineering, you're also going to get really good tools. If you are using range weapons, I would highly recommend it because it's a good profit for the ammunition, but also you can self-sustain your ammunition. You can craft your own, which is going to save you a lot of money in the long run, because like I said there, on the marketplace, it's pretty good profit for how much you get per craft and how cheap it is to actually craft. So certainly work on that if you are going to be using a ranged weapon. And then finally here, armor and weapon crafting, both really, really good skills, but I would save these for the mid to late game. I would definitely level them up through the town board quests, so the iron ornaments or the crude iron ornaments, which whenever you get first, I would definitely pick these quests up, craft the items that are in there, because they will give you a ton of weaponsmithing or armor smithing XP for pretty much free, as well as giving you a ton of XP, regular player XP alongside that. So it's certainly worth leveling through that, but I wouldn't focus on power leveling it until mid to late game, because later game is going to be fantastic for making some of the best possible weapons in New World. But right early on, you're better just getting dungeon drops and drops from PvP and that sort of thing, because you're going to be switching out so often as you're progressing through the levels. It isn't really worth focusing in on crafts. Whereas when you get to that level 500 to 600 gear score, then it's going to be really worth it. And if you can craft those endgame stuff, it's going to be fantastic. So hopefully this guide has helped you guys out with what you should be prioritizing sort of that early to mid game stages and what should be left for more of the mid to late game. Obviously at the end of the day, it is up to the individual player, whatever you prefer, whatever you have the most fun with. Obviously go down that route, but if you're trying to go for things that are going to be the most useful for you, the breakdown is probably stone cutting, arcana, mining, jewel crafting, engineering, cooking, armor crafting, weapon crafting, and then furnishing, because those lower end ones there are just going to be more worth a time investment late game rather than early game. So hopefully that does help you all out. If it has, do make sure you leave a like on the video down below. If you are new to the channel and you would like to see more New World content, please do drop a subscribe with the notification bell on, as we are uploading daily New World content, so we'd love to have you here as part of the community. If you'd like to join my Discord, be part of the community over there, or you're looking to join my New World company for release, we've got around 20 spots left, so if you want to get in there, I'd join up quick. Go ahead and join the Discord. The link will be in the description and in the comments. We'd love to have you over there as part of the community. If you'd like to become a channel member, the join option is down below, so you can click on that and see what options we have available for you. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching. Take care, guys, and peace.